This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado. I am here with ZEM Life, the creators of the world's first emergency medication delivery smartwatch, with the ability to eliminate preventable deaths through groundbreaking technology. I am joined here with the co-founder, Steve Muth, as well as Dr. Joanna. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm going to start off a little bit with really, Steve. You have spent nearly 2 decades in the business development, fundraising, finance, hardware, and software world. You really have created hundreds of businesses before launching this product. You have raised over $1 billion for well-known companies like UPS, Unisys, Continental Airlines, Frontier Airlines, and many more. Unexpectedly, tragically, your passion and focus quickly became preventing another child or individual from dying alone. Share with me a little bit your story prior to this, and then how ZEM came to be.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me here. I was big in raising capital for small micro-cap companies. I was incredibly successful, made customers a tremendous amount of money, and it worked out very well. I understand the capital market fairly well and had a number of contacts regarding higher risk capital. And then how this started is through something that was just something no human could ever ask for. I had full custody of my only child for many years, and he was my best friend. He was my partner. He was my world, and I felt he was my purpose in my life. He was the only one to carry our family name, and he unfortunately passed away February 1, 2021, where a friend of his gave him a pill that had fentanyl in it. After that day, my life changed. I became overwhelmed with an anxiety and pain from the loss, and had this incredible drive and desire to just know what I could have done to have saved his life. And through that and researching, I had ideas of smartwatch that could maybe identify cases if you were sick or at risk.
That is definitely the short version of your story. I mean, there are details in between that only a person like yourself could really try to convey to anyone else. Situations like yours, people say, I can't imagine. And I imagine you look at them saying, no, you can't. Let me ask you this, doctor. Many applications and multiple medications will basically this technology deliver. Let's begin with the original idea, Narcan. To protect against a fentanyl overdose, what is Narcan? Explain that to my viewers out there. What does it do exactly?
What Narcan is it's an antagonist, a pure antagonist for the narcotic effects that can cause respiratory depression, the other narcotic effects, euphoria, pain relief. It reverses all of those, but primarily it's the respiratory depression. We're not necessarily talking about people who are addicted to opioids. Anyone who takes opioids can have respiratory depression because of them. If you have a simple surgery, you're given narcotics, there's a wide variation of response. The same small amount of drug given to one person could stop another person from breathing. Narcan can reverse that, and it reverses it very quickly. Narcan can be delivered in many different ways. In the operating room, if we have someone who's...
so for those folks out there who have overdosed, Obviously, time is critical. What is the traditional means to self-medicate if possible, and why is that not always timely and effective, the traditional route?
Because of the opioid crisis, Narcan has moved largely out of the regulated arena into something that's over-the-counter for the nasal sprays. Those people can get on their own without a prescription. They're widely available, but they require it to be given to the person. Someone who's not breathing because of an opioid crisis and an overdose, they're not going to be able to reach into their backpack and pull out the Narcan and give it to themselves. They might be alone, in which case there's nothing to prevent them from dying.
No matter what, the person has to do something, and we're not always in a position to do that something. I mean, as consumers, we are all familiar with smartwatches. I mean, they're easy to wear. They can provide notifications, help us answer calls, read emails, even monitor our sleep and our vitals. Your smartwatch here is going to go far beyond that. It actually takes action. I mean, this is a proactive solution. Explain, how will it actually administer medication? Explain that to us.
Well, when the idea first came to me, Steve had told me that he wished there was something he could have put on Zach to save him. And I told him, yes, like the smartwatches that are out there. Track the pulse oximetry with the device, with the reflectance technology. The accelerometry data looks at the respiratory rate, whether or not they've fallen, if there's movement of the individual. And that database in the watch from that individual who's wearing it gives an individual record to tie that data to. If you see a trend downward in the pulse oximetry data, the pulse perhaps changing, the respiratory rate falling, it puts all those data points together. Then it sends out an alarm to the individual, warning, warning. And if there's no response from the individual to turn it off, then it sends out a 911 and GPS signal to bring help and injects Narcan at the same time.
So, as you're saying, basically, each watch will contain a cartridge of predetermined medicine. I mean, what is the approval needed from the Food and Drug Administration for such a device? I mean, I imagine it's costly. It's going to take a lot of time. What is that process like?
That is a very involved process. There are many hurdles that have already been met. All these medications that we're talking about have been approved by the FDA for injectable delivery. To inject with a needle system, that is a relatively easy process to get through the FDA. There are other applications where perhaps it's injected by a jet propulsion system. That is not going to be so easy to get through the FDA, and that might be the most world-changing application when it is passed. But that's another step in the future. Just to have a simple injection, that's well known, and that should not be very difficult with Narcan in the face of crisis that we're in right now. I mean, the drugs will take more.
Steve, let's face it, most emergencies happen outside of a medical environment like a hospital. Most happen at home, work, or traveling. I mean, this solution is literally with you 24/7. I mean, this has to make it head and shoulders of what is available out there in traditional means. The people that have heard this idea, what has been some of the feedback?
Incredible. This is going to change the world, period. The sole fact is that millions and millions of people die from a preventable death every year, period. Millions of people die. In fact, 20% of the world died from cardiac arrest. In fact, most of them die in their sleep with right next to their loved one that they don't even know had this heart attack, and they wake up and they're gone. This watch is going to revolutionize how people die and change that. And that's why this is going to change the world.
Definitely.
There's something important I want to point out. In this world, it's becoming automated. We have AI, we have automatic driving cars, we have, you buy a coffee, it's automated, you go pick up your coffee. Why not saving your life?
Yeah.
And that is without a doubt the most important thing. And I think what's truly incredible about this technology is the concern may have been, how can this watch administer medication properly? However, I believe that this technology could actually improve the delivery of medication to be more reliable than that of circumstances in the emergency room. And I'll explain exactly why. The watch knows who you are. Right. The watch reads your blood pressure. It reads your EKGs. It reads all your emergency data every day, every minute, and it knows where your levels are. What I wanted to show you about the ZEM watch, first of all this is a dummy watch. We had this created with our engineers to determine the smallest unit we could create with all our functionality and 2 different cartridges. You can see there's cartridge. This would have Narcan. This would also have Narcan for a double injection of Narcan. However, we could have epinephrine in one of these for anaphylactic shock. We could have nitroglycerin in one for various heart situations, or we could have Valium in one for epilepsy. So it's really the first personalized cartridge system with an automatic delivery. So the military may need the antidote for nerve gas, or morphine for if they get blown up, or so they don't die of shock. But how it works is the cartridges are here, and if you can look on the back of the watch, there's holes right here for the injector. See, on each person, right here is a fatty part of your skin. It's on everyone. This is a legal FDA-approved location. It's called an IM location. That are all these drugs are approved for FDA delivery. And Dr. Meston can explain with more detail.
What Steve's trying to say is that this portion of your arm, there are no real nerve structures that could be injured. There are no vascular structures that could be injured. This is skin, subcutaneous tissue, and muscle primarily where it would be injecting. Subcutaneous and intramuscular injections, IM or sub-Q injections, are approved for these medications. And some medications, that is the desired route. Many of the drugs we give by IV injection, but they can also be given by IM injection. Perhaps the dose might need to be increased because the uptake is slower. This isn't necessarily an FDA-approved location. This is just a location where you can access muscular or subcutaneous tissue for the injection without causing damage to other structures.
A doctor on your arm. I mean, quite honestly, the doctor's on your arm, and not only a doctor, but a doctor that knows you. I mean, because like you say, this was original. We're talking about Narcan overdosing, but this is beyond overdosing. This is instant medication, medication for heart attacks, asthma, seizures, septic shock. I mean, how many models are you planning to create?
We're right now in the process of developing our flagship device, which is the Narcan cartridge.
Okay.
And that is the very first one that's coming to market, and we hope to have that within the next 6 months, to have that available, that's developed based upon FDA protocol. Our second cartridge developing is the cardiac arrest cartridge, and we are in the process of doing that. We've implemented 2 different groups to start working on these 2 cartridges. However, we are also very conscious about starting something that is even more, maybe not as needed, but just as important, and it's fertility issues. I don't know if the world knows this, but fertility rates around the world are decreasing right now. In fact, in various countries, they're paying people to move to those countries or certain areas to increase the population. They're talking about the year 2064. for the first time in the history of the world, we will actually be producing less people and less children than there are people dying. So the world, for the first time in the history of the world, is going to start decreasing in population. That's the statistic. So the beauty of the watch could also help fertility, where what it does is it reads for those various parameters in order to inject those various hormones or what.
You want to add something to that, Doctor?
Yes, with fertility, it's a matter of the timing of the delivery of medication. If a couple is interested in conceiving and they're having difficulties, they have to go in and have injections done to create the timing to have that happen. And the same is true in the animal world. Cattle, exotic animals that have falling populations, they can have these same regimens through the veterinary science to help regulate their fertility. It could be used for any sort of medication, whether it's an emergency medication or a routinely scheduled medication.
I mean, because it is as simple as really wearing a stylish watch, anyone can use it. Infants, children, military, daycare, I mean, even animals, would we say? Give us an overview of all those different industries, would you say, that when you start thinking about it, you realize they could be affected?
Well, if you look at the military, perhaps they have a larger pack that's on their thighs so you can have many more cartridges than just two. Perhaps they need Narcan in case they wander into an environment that's contaminated with fentanyl. Maybe they need morphine because of a battlefield injury and they need pain relief. Maybe the general in charge of the group sees that there's sarin gas in the area and all of the soldiers are being affected by the sarin nerve gas. They deliver atropine and preludixine. Or if they're in shock from a battlefield injury, epinephrine to raise the blood pressure. There are any number of medications that could be included in it for life-saving thing. The critical element with the watch is that the delivery, the detection is within minutes, and the delivery of the medication. We have fantastic emergency medicine services in this country. The EMS systems are excellent, but it has to be, one, triggered. Somebody has to call them, and then they have to travel to that person. Those are critical minutes when if someone is pulseless from a VTAC arrest, their body is becoming more and more acidic and less responsive to the medications that could save them.
And Steve, I mean, the possibilities utilizing this technology are really endless. With your ZEM Life band, I mean, vital data like EKG, blood pressure, GPS location, stored medical data, not only available to the user, but it's also to the medical personnel when they come to take care of you as well. What about multiple cartridges? I noticed the one you have here. Is that something that you want to start off with right away?
Yes, the very first watch is going to hold 2 different cartridges.
Okay.
And that's the blueprint for our Narcan delivery. The Narcan is going to have 2 cartridges with 2 different intervals of injecting the medication. However, there are multiple needed emergencies that we could put 2 medicines in 1 cartridge that are compatible, or various things with the cardiac arrest. Perhaps there could be nitroglycerin mixed with whatever. But the point I wanted to make is that besides endless, that this could revolutionize how the doctors are involved with the patients, where they have a more hands-on effect. If they hand out right now with the problems with opiates, the doctors could hand out a ZEM Life watch that can administer the opiates by the doctor's protocol, where the people can't become addicted because it's going to be administered by the doctor or identified on their screen, or the parents could hold this data, or the general could hold the data to administer all the men in the field that have been hit with nerve gas.
Like you said, this is a very customized approach to each individual that's going to be wearing it. I mean, your team is moving as quickly as they can to bring life-saving solutions to the public. How can others join your family of investors and maybe get involved?
Good question. We are definitely looking for people to become involved in our family. In fact, we've had various different offers by larger organizations. We chose to go a crowdfunding route where we're going to be implementing a crowdfund offering for $5 million here within the next 2-3 weeks. We hope and pray that we have a closure of that very quick so we can get our products to market as soon as possible. We chose the crowdfunding primarily because of my son. He was a very giving person, and we want the public, it's important for us for the public to be involved in this and for the little guy to be involved instead of just one big institution that's only going to be conscious about their return. We're conscious about creating a great product first and saving lives first. And then we believe the money is going to come very significant. And we've made the offering incredibly attractive for all the crowdfund individuals with very low dilution and giving options for a future opportunity in the company as we grow, because we plan to grow significantly.
Speaking of the little guy, your little guy, I can't let you go without sharing with us where the name ZEM came from and why that was important to name it that.
ZEM came from my son's name. He was Zachary Ernest Muth. So that is ZEM. It just, he was our entire family's only heir. He was the only one to carry our name. And so for me, it just gives me a little comfort that he's still here and doing something good, for he had lots of plans in this world, and he had plans to do good for a lot of different people. And
it's going to give you a little comfort, but I think it's going to change the world. Basically, just the idea of how this came to be. I mean, quite honestly, Steve, this mission began because you believed that no parent should have to go through what you did when you lost your only child. ZEM Life was founded by really an unexpected chance through a meeting of other passionate individuals. Will this be the legacy that you and your son leave for others?
Well, my hope is that we just save one life, let alone millions. And the day we hear about our first life being saved, there is no question our company is going to have a big celebration. And we expect that's going to happen in a very, very big way. For me, he was my world. I have nothing left. And that is my life for the rest of my life. That is my purpose, is to help the world alleviate a sudden death. Or it's my opinion, no one should see someone they love leave without saying goodbye. And for my son, I was a little upset in that night, and I was waiting for the morning to come so I could tell him I was sorry for being upset. And it just will haunt me for forever right now. So my work that I do and the involvement gives me that it alleviates some of that anxiety too.
Yeah. I mean, quite an honor just to tell your story. I'm excited to see where this goes. I know I'm going to be back out here again, speaking with you again, as we see these milestones that obviously your team has in place. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, see the ZEM Life Watch and all of the models they hope to bring to individuals and multiple industries. You can learn more about the founders right there as well, board and business strategy that will help them and their investors bring this life-saving solution really to the world. Once again, that is ZEM Life, for the love of life, changing the world by stopping preventable deaths through the automatic delivery of medication. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.